Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Sorry, I need to switch this light off. I think that better. Hey guys, how you doing? Nice to see you all. First live stream. Hey Carl, how you doing? Really good to see you, buddy. Backroad Hero as well. Thank you for the support. And Jonathan, who was in straight from the beginning. Basically, ask away, guys. So whatever you want to know, this is your opportunity. I've sort of been bound to the house for about since last Wednesday, I think it was, because of COVID. So I've run out of stuff to film and edit, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a chat with everybody. And I can't tell if you can hear me, but I presume you can. Otherwise, you would have said something before this already. But from Carl, feeling better? Yeah, I am. To be honest, I've been pretty much asymptomatic. I've had, well, a little bit symptomatic, I suppose. I've had a light cold, pretty much, is what's happened. And today, I think I'm at the end of it, but I'm still testing positive. Now, what's the latest on the 308 from Robert? Now, basically, the 308 is the gift that keeps on giving. It almost feels like it will never be fixed, that car. I'm sure it will be, but the latest on the Influenzo is that it's still burning too much oil, to the extent that if I take it for a drive and then I have a look with the endoscope in the cylinders, there is oil in the bores. So I'm still not 100% sure whether it is coming from below or from above. But the next thing to do really is I'm going to take the rear head off, just check those valve guides. I'm sure they're fine, but just double check there's no sign of oil coming down from there. At that point, I will then have to take the engine out, take it completely apart, and it will have been my fault because I should have just checked much more carefully when I first took the car apart and not just assumed that the bottom end was fine. I'm going to try and change position because I don't think you guys are getting a great view from where I was with the lighting. Let's see if this is any better. I think that's probably a bit better. Bear with me just a second while I continue to set up. Hold on. So some of you will be pleased to see that I am wearing the PJs, although maybe it's a bit more understandable in the house. They haven't featured so much in some of the latest videos, to be fair, but maybe when I start working on the Ferrari again. Right, let me try and catch up with some messages. So the latest on the 308, I've answered. Essentially, I'm going to have to probably take the engine out, but at least I'm taking one of the heads off, checking, seeing if that's where the oil is coming from. After that, my current inventory of cars, that's from Matthew. So I have the Lotus Elise, the Franken Elise that I dearly love, the Influenzo, which has been absolutely influential, boom, boom, in terms of growing the channel. I think I had 14,000 subscribers before I had that car. So it spurred loads of the growth of the channel. Then I have the Lexus LS400 for the cheap luxury barge series. Of course, the Bismarck. And I still have Fred. A few of those will have to move around. Fred is one of them. Either the Bismarck or the Lexus will have to be sold, and I keep changing around what I think. Andrew asked, can I see your PJs? I think I already showed you that, so that should be fine. Do you miss the 205 Pug GTI? I do indeed really miss Pepe. The only thing about Pepe, though, was it was like driving a crisp packet. So although it was amazing to drive, it looked fantastic. I don't know. One thing against it is just that it didn't feel like a quality item to drive. It didn't give you that. I mean, of course, you're probably not going to get satisfaction of that kind from a 205, but I don't know. It riled me a little bit that everything felt quite so crisp. The BX, on the other hand, I think was the perfect compromise, the Tomato, because it had that same light feeling, but it was just a little bit more solid. But yes, I do definitely miss Pepe, and I would have kept it if I could. Now, This is the Universal Credit course. Yeah, go Jack. That was Duncan. Scottish Creators. Hi, everyone. Hi. Paul Dolden. Hello, buddy. He's been following me, has his own channel. He's a detailer. If you haven't had a look, have a look at Paul Dolden Details. He's a really good guy. And as I said, has been following me back from the beginning, like a lot of you. Backroad Hero. At what point did you know that you could make a career out of YouTube? Okay, the video that I did about this, actually, because I didn't think anyone would care that much. I didn't put as much care into that as I should have. But it wasn't so much that I could make a career out of YouTube. As I mentioned, the influenza was an absolute turning point, because it really helped propel the channel to different sort of heights. But it was more a question that my normal job contract was coming to an end. I was working at Oxford University. I would have easily found another contract at Oxford University, but the idea of looking for another normal job, 9 to 5, having to go in, was just made me depressed. And at one point, I thought, well, look, why don't I just try? Most of you will be aware of James Martin, aka JM. He started at the same time as me, but he went full time straight away. I also went to when I did my when I was at university. Basically, one of my housemates was Chris Harris. And we both did an internship at Autocar, and for various reasons I never pursued that. I'm not saying I would be like Chris Harris now. I wouldn't be. I'm not that kind of journalist, but I could have pursued a career with cars. And the point is, I never went for it. So cut long story short, when my contract expired, rather than look for another job, I thought, if I don't try now, I'm never going to be able to. So that's when I decided to go full time on YouTube, and it's been going okay. It's been challenging, and that's but it's okay. From Sparky, with all prices, don't want to be burning any without need. I don't know why he's saying that. Next, are you looking at a Fulvia next? I've always wanted a Fulvia. I would like a Fulvia, and I think that if I manage to sell a few of my cars, I will get a Fulvia. With Fred, my Austin Healey, it's really with a sort of it's with difficulty that that I want to sell him. I do want to sell him, but I'm still not exactly 1,000,000,000% sure, and I haven't actually advertised it. I only mentioned it on that video, and we'll see. But I would like a Fulvia. What are your views on the direction Lotus is going? Elise, an Esprit owner here. I love Lotus stuff. Always have done. I had an Esprit as well, which I adored. My Evora, I loved. The Elise is one of my favorite all-time cars. I can't comment on the direction it's going in now because I don't really follow new stuff that much. I know that the latest offerings have, people love them. Is it the Avija? I can't remember what it's called, the very latest one, but it's sold really well, in pre-orders and stuff. And I mean, Lotus did need a good injection of cash, and they did need to start going a bit more mainstream to survive, I think, as much as we love products like that they did previously. I don't think they could carry on like that for that much longer. Ross, hi from New Zealand. Hi, buddy. Andrew Allen. Ooh, where is, sorry, just trying to find where we were because it sort of slipped through. From New Zealand, I think we were here. Sorry if I miss any of your questions, but so Ross, hi to New Zealand. Hi, buddy. Fraser Willard, have you ever driven a 90s Lotus Elan? Would love a comparison. You might have mentioned this in one of the comments because I remember reading this, and I would love to do that. Haven't been offered one yet. If I am offered one, I will compare it with the Elise. I have to say, I haven't driven one, but I've spoken to people who have. I've read a lot of the reviews, and I think it's going to really struggle against the Elise. Anything would struggle, but the front-wheel drive Elan, although very good for a front-wheel drive car, I think it's going to be quite a different experience. Next, 39 PSI on the daily. What did you think of your R32 GTR? I absolutely loved that car. There were many cars that you get which you'll really look forward to and you think are going to be incredible, and they never quite live up to expectations. The Integrale was one of those. It wasn't a bad car. It was pretty cool, but I expected so much from it that I wasn't quite as blown away as I could have. The R32, I didn't really know what to expect. And I thought, unbelievable. That engine, I mean, I just didn't expect it to be so good and so friendly and easy. I mean, loved it. So have you decided to sell the Lexus yet and keep the Bismarck? This is Alex. I'm heading in that direction, but Alex P. I'm heading in that direction, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Kind of just depends on which one's going to sell and what's going to happen. I do need to get down to less cars because just too many projects, too expensive. But the thing with these projects is as well, when I first get one, people are interested and excited. When I do the big stuff on them, people are quite interested. The longer they go on, even the Influenzo, understandably, people just get bored. And I can't just end up with a plethora of masses of projects that require loads of money spending on them. It doesn't really work as a YouTube sort of as a plan. So I think I'm going to continue to do project stuff and work on cars, but I'm trying to do a few more road tests as well because that just makes it more viable. Lucky PJs are back, Carl. Indeed, they are. Good evening. Hello, Rare Blend from Orlando. Hooked on Classics. Hello, buddy. Boeing, where do you keep all the cars? Well, I've moved into this place, which has a double garage. There's also 2 spaces in front of the double garage and another parking space. The Frog Eye, Fred, is actually still in a garage back in Woodstock where I was before, which is also why I kind of want to sell it, because that car is one of those that has to have garage space, and it's just, I don't know, it's just it's difficult to get to justify it really. Sparky, love the Elise, almost got one but ended up VX220. Yeah, great cars. Rick says, what's your ultimate goal for the channel? Where do you want to take it? A straight up competitor for Top Gear? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't do Top Gear even if I was ever offered the opportunity. I know everybody says that, but I really don't think I would. I struggle as it is just to get my content out when I can control it completely and say what I want to say. If I had to read completely off script, I'd find it really, really difficult. And I want to be in control of what I'm doing. This is supposed to be fun. So yeah, the ultimate goal is I do want to grow it. I need to grow it really to make a bit more of a comfortable living. But I just want it to be something, hopefully, that will be, it will be interesting. It will be fun, but also fun for me. So it's always a bit of a toss up, with these things about whether you do stuff that you think is going to do well or stuff that you personally, I personally find interesting. So I try and strike a balance between the two. For example, the Toyota Sports 800 that I just did, I didn't think that would be a video that would do particularly well. But I'm really interested in certain cars, and particularly some of the old, I like loads of stuff, but some of the old Japanese stuff, I just, I like it because I like an underdog. And at that time, they weren't particularly doing that, that well. So essentially, it's, I've sort of lost my thread of thought or what I was telling you. Yeah. So it's a balance between doing things I want to do and things that hopefully will get views. Sorry, I see a couple of you have donated. I really appreciate that, but I can't quite see who you were. 39 PSI, thank you very much. And I can't see anyone else. I think there was someone else. I'm sorry if I'm not saying anything about I just can't see it. Right. Okay, so next, Rub, Smoke and Sauce. Interested in featuring my essay of K320, which has not been uncovered for 2 years. I'm not sure if that's the kind of car that would get traction on the channel. I guess it depends also where you are, where you're based and how close you are to me. But I would say just contact me on Instagram if you have any cars that you're interested in me doing videos on. Javier from Spain, hello, buddy. Are you interested in an MR2 AW11? Yeah, all the MR2s I am definitely interested in. British Leyland 73, thank you. Just great channel. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Phil, I am. What happened to Sophia? This was the Fiat 500 that I bought in Italy and I then took back to the UK, registered here. I sold it to a friend, Jago, who I've had a few dealings with on the channel. He's just a mate and we've swapped cars here and there. The Integrale was from him. He then sold it on as well. So that is gone for the moment. That's another great car. Fixed Drive Fly, hello, hi. ever think you'll get back to Tyrrell's? Yeah, that's Matthew Owens. I was talking to him just a couple of days ago. He's really keen to do another video. So as soon as I start working on the influenza and I know what's going on, I will try and see if there's a way of doing something somehow. But we will see on that. Hooked on classics, misses the Citroen, the Tomato. I do too. Mr. Pissy Pants, what's your opinion on the new Vauxhall Focus? I'm sorry, I'm terrible with this sort of stuff. I don't know what on the new Vauxhall Focus. I don't know if that was a joke, but I know nothing about new cars, so can't answer that. Sparky had a 2 of 5 back in the day. They were made of tinfoil, yeah, agree. Or Pissy Pants, the new Ford Astra you were mucking about. Okay. Hello from America. Hello, Paul Dolden. Hello, May. Again. Auto Avids. Hello from Detroit. Hey, buddy. Hello to everybody in the US. JD Works. The road around you remind me of my time. Stonesfield. Yes, I am. It is. Stonesfield is close to where I am. Tom Hidde. I don't know how to pronounce that. Markuson. Says hello from Denmark. Hello, thank you, buddy. Renault, what are you feeling on the Alfa Romeo Spiders? I don't know which Alfa Romeo Spider you mean. There are various ones. There's the original ones, which I love. There's the ones that came out in the 90s, which I also really like. They're very different cars, obviously. But yes, love them all. And if I get a chance, I will do a review. Who has surprised you that watches your channel? Harris the Queen surprise us. I don't know if you'd be that surprised, to be honest. I mean, there is a guy called Dave Hacks, who is not a car YouTuber. He is a YouTuber that does basically sort of like gadgets and stuff like that. And he's got about 7 million subscribers. And when I did the Influenzo, everybody loves the Influenzo, he got in touch with me, and we've been in touch since, and he's helped me out, and he's a great guy. So that's one, I suppose, that might surprise you. Rare Blend says, how long does it take you to edit one video? It really depends. If they go well, and you only see the bits that go well when you see my videos, and there's so much that goes wrong. I say the wrong thing. Even often, I've mentioned this before, I will know what the right thing is, but when I'm talking, the wrong thing comes out. An example of that is the V6 straight 6 engine thing. Also, there was a video where I talked about the DeLorean, and I totally knew it wasn't front engine, but for some reason I said it, so I get into trouble like that. Anyway, with the videos, if I have a good day, and generally speaking, I sort of get out roughly what I want to say, then it might take me a couple of hours or 3 hours. Some of them, though, have taken, they can take 10 hours, or longer. It just depends. But I'm learning to try and do it a bit more quickly now. What's happening with Frog Eyes? I think I've said with Fred. He's in a garage in Woodstock, and probably is going to be sold, but I'm still not 100% on everything. Neil, what happened to Sophia? I mentioned that. That was about the 308 issues. Okay. Chedhead, hello. Paul B, you should go racing with Fred. CMDR, FE Trinket, respect you for having the guts to change path. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. Ben, hi, love the channel. Do you regret selling the Lotus Evora? Interesting. You know what? I really don't. And that's because the Elise is just so much better. I mean, the Evora is brilliant, but the Elise is just, that Elise, it just blows my mind. It's so good. The Evora is great. It's much more usable. It's a more normal car, but it's still a pain in the backside to get in and out of because it's still got quite wide sills. Although it's amazing, you don't get that same feel that you do with the Elise. I don't think you do with anything. So do I regret selling it? No. Do I regret owning it? No, I don't know. Glad I owned it, really liked it. And the engine I thought sounded fabulous. Everyone says those Toyota V6s don't sound very good, but I don't agree with that. Now, let me just go back again. It's just flicked through. Sorry, I've just lost the the last one. I have my S2. I've seen Buster Boy saying I look a bit rough like some of my cars, but I'm just trying to find. Ah, okay. I think I've found it again. What happened to Sophia? Nothing new. Expect you to know that. Right. Um, Patrick says, "Good evening, Jack. Greetings from Germany. Hello, Patrick. Ross, what's your favorite European and Japanese American car brand?" Oh, that is so difficult and so tricky. And I'm going to do a video about that, okay? But I've got to think about it because there's so many. But let me just throw out some favorites. Obviously, one is the well, obviously Lotus is just. I love Lotus. I love the older Ferrari stuff. Generally speaking, I find everything new totally dull and boring. So not really into that. I love old Lanciers. I love old Fiats. I do have a soft spot, as I've said, for the Japanese stuff because I think that they got to where they are having to battle sort of prejudices when they first did it, and just the stuff that they do. I really like the engineering on it. But there's loads and loads of stuff, and I love some of the old American barges. Absolutely love those. They are amazing. Um, Quick hello, Master Malrubius sent a quick donation as well. So thank you, buddy, for that. And can you explain when you got interested in cars? Was there a particular time? No. So from whenever I was a kid, I was always interested in cars and always in terms of toys. And I went through a phase before I could drive. And at that time, I think some of you have seen them. I was into RC cars, radio control cars, but proper radio control cars that you used to have to build yourself. They had hydraulic shocks, differentials, you could change the geometry, and I learned an awful lot from those. And those were great times. That was back in the 90s when I was still a young man. Is there another question? Andrew Chatfield, thank you, Andrew. Right now, Buster Boy. Thank you, for the donation, Andrew. Buster Boy, hello, Jack. You're looking a bit rough, just like some of your cars. Yes, I think I'm particularly looking rough on this. I thought I was looking all right today, but yeah, the COVID's taken it out of me a little bit, and I am a bit tired, but I think I'm all right. Simo, hello, buddy. I'm really glad that you're on there. This is someone else. I think Simo joined on with the Ferrari, but has been a super loyal follower ever since. And we've exchanged a few messages. Thank you, buddy. Paul Kane, love your S2. I bet I'd love to try an S2 and compare it to the S1. I don't think there's a massive amount of difference, but. Patrick, hello from the States. Hello to the States, everybody there. Edward, Laverick, Latus, Avija, and Amir, exactly. Sorry, guys. I'm terrible with this sort of stuff. My memory is awful. Dexter's Folly. Why did you sell the Peugeot? Well, it was crashed, and I didn't really think that making a fix video would work that well for the channel. I was going to sell it on anyway at some point because for a while I thought all I was going to do on the channel was just buy and sell cars and do them up. As I mentioned, that's not a sustainable long-term strategy. So it's going to be a mix of that now. I'm still going to get my own cars and work on them, but also try and do a few more reviews, which seem to sort of work quite well in terms of views. Favorite Triumph? I have to admit, I don't know much about Triumphs. I do really like a TR4, but I haven't driven many. And that's maybe an area that I should cover. A friend of mine called Fergus has got, I think I put it on social media, has got a Spitfire, which has had an engine change in it. I think it's got an 8-cylinder, a Rover V8 in it. And his dad owned it, so he can't get rid of it, but it is an absolute lash up. And it is, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I christened it the Shitfire, and I've been threatening to do a video on that for ages, and I want to do a video on that. It's not going to be very representative, though, of Triumphs, to be honest. So for Lola, hi all, hello. LRH65, favourite Triumph, I answered that. Have you ever considered a TVR Tuscan or Cerberus? They still seem to be pretty. Yeah, I'd love a CVR at some point. A CVR? See what I mean? Say the wrong thing. A TVR at some point. But Yeah, for the moment, I need to thin down my collection of cars because it's too much at the moment. I know there are only 5 cars, but it's still a bit too much. So that's the thing. And thank you, Chedhead, for the contribution towards Rust product. Harold, Honda C90. Have you ever thought about classic bikes? I actually had a bike license, and from the age of about 24 to 32 or 34, I can't remember now, I only rode motorbikes. I didn't have cars. I went through a period where I was just on bikes, had loads of them. I had a Ducati 748, which would now be considered a classic. At the time, it was sort of still fairly current or a bit old. But yeah, love bikes, but I have enough on my plate, so I haven't considered any having any at the moment. Bed chambers, more like this on the 308, which you loved. I know a lot of people love the 308. Unfortunately, Um, I can't really just keep buying broken Ferraris, and I actually need to fix the 308. But there is more coming on the Influenza because I will be working on it. Okay, so you will see me there. Carl, if money was no object, what car would you have? I would have a. God, I mean, I love the Toyota 2000. There's so many. Toyota 2000 GT though, absolutely love that. I think that was so ahead of its time, and I just love that car. But Honda NSX, Ferrari 355. Although to be honest, I'm starting to pivot away from a 355 and back to 348 because which is basically the same chassis, and I know the engine isn't as nice, but the steering on 355s is pretty dead, very light. And actually, the steering on 348s, I think, is one of the best ever on any car. And I would think if you just get a 348 and sort it out properly, work a bit on the geo, do some other bits, it could probably be better in many ways than a 355. With the right wheels as well, if you put 355 wheels on them, they look great. Sparky, so long as you don't become like Tavarish and never finishing a project. Well, that's why I am finishing the 308. And also things like the Mercedes, the Bismarck, I've actually done some more work to it now. But there is, the Bismarck I consider pretty much close to being finished. But there are some things, small things, which can take an inordinate amount of time, won't get me any views. And I do have to keep that in mind that, do the interesting stuff and not necessarily always, have to get it to concourse level. Edward Leverick says your channel has a few different planks to it: mechanical reviews, electric conversions. Do you plan on keeping all of these, or are you going to specialize in one or more of these areas? At the moment, I'm trying to do a bit of everything. I think the two main planks are going to be working on my own cars and also doing stuff which, doing car reviews. Because I just enjoy it, but it's easier as well. So I can get a video out on a car review pretty quickly. If I buy a car, the Bismarck is a perfect example. It gets 25 to 30,000 views, and I spent 40 hours on it one week. It's just I have to have a balance to try and get the right amount of views. How did you come up with the name number 27, Hooked on Classics? There is a video about this, so do have a look. And the video, if you look at the last one with my old car when I hadn't owned it yet, it was a Porsche 964, and it was originally cobalt blue, and the atomic number of cobalt is 27. So perhaps a disappointing reason, but I started the channel with that car, and I had called that car number 27, and that's how it came about. Derek says, true or false, Lotus Amira is just a reskinned Evora. Well, I know that that James definitely thinks so, and he's talked me through it. I haven't looked at it enough to make a decision on that, so I don't know. I can't comment. I'm really sorry. Uh, um, Ian O'Sullivan, love your content. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. 39 Pisai again. I already said thanks, but thank you again for your donation and stuff. Mark Smith, car reviews would be of old Fords. Actually, I've done nothing on Fords, I have to say. And generally speaking, it's not my make. I've never been that excited, particularly, and by Fords, but I do need to feature some and get a bit of a grasp because I know it's hugely popular with viewers. Who are your favorite car YouTubers and why? There are many. Nick, I've forgotten his name. KiwiTube. Nick. It will come back in a minute and I'll tell you, but he's an American YouTuber, very Nick Murray. He just does weird stuff. He does what he wants. He doesn't really care. The YouTube isn't his primary thing, but he's got 200,000 subscribers. But I just love his irreverent take on it and doing whatever he wants to do. I also love Hoovy, although recently I haven't watched as much. It's only really if he gets cars that I'm interested in. JM, of course, and Ian Tyrrell. I mean, there are so many, really. There's another one. God, I've forgotten his. I see how bad my memory is. It's incredible I can do this and talk about cars when my memory's like this. How about YouTube on big 60s and 70s US cars in the UK? I'd love to do that. If someone offers and can bring them over, I would love to do something. Rich, greetings from North Carolina. Hello, buddy. I was in North Carolina a few years ago. Really loved it over there. Would love to see something on a classic Aston V8 Vantage. I would love that too. Would you consider getting Hendon Guna Honda S2000? I did a video comparing it to the Elise, and I really like it. I think they need a few mods to get the best out of that incredible engine. As standard, they don't sound good enough, and the handling is okay. But at the moment, I think I've got enough two-seaters. But yeah, I wouldn't exclude having one. Then Django's Garage. Hi, I've said before, if you want to team up and do a couple of videos together, drive some sort of Broken Dreams, Lotus Carlton. I'd love to try the Lotus Carlton. Django, I haven't seen your messages, but if you can contact me on Instagram with any offers of cars, we can chat there. Minimoto Madness. Hello, what was your first car? That's quite a good question, Minimoto Madness. You might be disappointed at this, but the two things. The first car I drove, which was my mum's car, was a Fiat Uno 45, and I think it was called an Eleganza, which was a British market only special model, which basically meant it had color-coded bumpers. It was, again, blue, a bit like the Bismarck, but a bit lighter. Color-coded bumpers and all that sort of stuff. So one of those dealer specials that really amount to nothing, but it was good to learn on. But the first car I bought was another car that's featured on the channel that I revisited years later, and it is my Alfa Romeo 1750 GTV, which is the 105 series, so the 70s coupe. Which in actual fact I didn't particularly like, and I didn't like it again when I saw the video again, when I did the video 20 years later or however long it was. But it does turn out that I think that had issues with the steering rack, because I've since driven other 105s and the steering is magic. Autovids, would you plan a trip to the States? Yes, my friend Jago has a Corvette somewhere in the US, which he's been threatening to pick up. And in theory, we were supposed to get together, but I haven't talked about that for a while. But I'd love to go to the US. Want to go. Love the US. Have been several times. So hopefully. Luke, hi, buddy. Warm water. Hi, Jack. Hope you're well. Thanks. I'm sort of coming out of COVID, but I'm fine. Simon Arnold, what was your biggest swing on preconception of a car versus actual experience? I thought you hated the Cayenne and ended up just disliking it. Some of these videos are a bit tongue-in-cheek. The Cayenne, I don't like because most SUVs I don't like because I think they're unnecessarily big and wasteful. And, you know, I like you burning petrol when it's necessary, but I don't like wasting it. And I think most SUVs are just a waste. They're four-wheel drive, which you don't need. The aerodynamics are crap, which you don't need. You know, so I don't, but, you know, that Cayenne, which belonged to my friend Frank, actually, yeah, it wasn't bad to drive, you know, but I just prefer other things, really. But anyway, what's your biggest swing on preconception of a car versus actual experience? So what did I not like, and then like when I drove it? I don't know. I have to think about that. But I can tell you one of the cars I thought I would love was my Maserati Grand Sport. And I didn't, and that was probably that was one of the bigger disappointments, really, out of all the cars I'd had. I didn't particularly like that. It had an amazing engine. It looked great. Just didn't drive right. It was didn't know if it was a GT car or a sports car. And as a result, didn't really do anything particularly well. Rob Blend, hello, Jack. How long do you spend editing your videos? I've answered that. It varies between maybe bare minimum of 3 hours and can go up to several hours. Knitworth, hello. Boeing 71615. Do your neighbours ever give you grief? No, they've all been amazing. So, um, in the rented house I was in previously, they were just lovely, lovely people, and I really pushed it there because you saw some of the horrors I had on my front drive there. The tomato when it first arrived. I mean, it looked like a war zone. And no, they were all great. Privately, perhaps they might have been annoyed that I had all this junk, but they never said anything, and I'm still friends with lots of the people there. Jago, hello, mate. Yoga pants. Jago is a really good mate, by the way, who I knew long before YouTube. Philip Bridden, hello from Canada. Hello to Canada, another place that I love. Robert Cope, I love you don't follow new cars. If it was made after 2005, I'm probably not interested. Pretty much the same. I mean, I do like some stuff. I mean, weirdly enough, I'm interested in BMW i3s, which you might not think. And it's just the reason why I'm interested is BMW really went all out for that, and they made something really different. And it's a carbon tub, but it's a little electric car, and it looks weird. And but most of the modern stuff I don't care about. Where have the pajamas gone, Harold? Well, I'm wearing them. But yeah, I don't wear them as much on videos at the moment. Mark John Longmore, get a 944. On the list, actually, 944 is one of those cars, don't want to offend anyone, but that didn't overwhelm me to drive. And I think the issue is, like the 968, is just that to get the most out of it, you just have to really drive it very hard. If you drive it normally, it doesn't feel particularly special. So Nick Hill said, have you had any motorcycles? As mentioned, for years, I only rode motorcycles. So I had loads, Ducatis, Aprilias, Hondas, Suzukis. Have you driven a Mark III Ford Cortina hooked on classics? No, I haven't. Have you visited Caffeine and Machine, Paul Kane? I have, not a fan of it. I find it really overblown in terms of what it offers and the pain of being there and having to pay to park and all that stuff. So not one of my favorite places. It's all right, but yeah. Have you decided on Sumo v Bismarck? Bismarck, I think, is what I'm going to keep, but it kind of depends how things roll through. Frank Cassidy. Frank is another really good mate who I knew from way before all this, from when I got my 964, which started up the channel. And he runs Box and Gas, which is actually a fantastic Porsche based business park, which is not too far from here in Bicester. And he is just taking the proverbial piss there. But how does it feel to be a YouTube star? Yeah, amazing. Brendan Mullen. Hi, Jack. Just popped in to say hi. Great videos. Thank you, buddy. Mark. Hi, Mark Walton. Hi, buddy. Ross Harper. Have you... Ooh, it's moved again. Why it does that? Hope you're well. SUVs. Come on. Sorry. I'm just going back to try and find where I was. Sorry again, I'm just trying to find. Here we go. Right. Ross Harper asks, have you ever had a TVR? No, I haven't. And hope the COVID wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad, but funnily enough, just talking to you guys here non-stop, I can kind of feel it a bit. But no, I should be on the way out of COVID, and I don't think I have it anymore, but the effects sort of keep coming. Do you get recognized in public ever from Rick? I do, actually, quite a lot, funnily enough, especially at car events. And everyone's always been really nice and amazing, and it's always really nice to meet you guys. If you ever bump into me, do say hello. If I am filming a video, I might be a bit short just because I'm not one of these guys who's super zen when they're working. And when I'm filming a video, I'm always worried and trying to do everything at the same time. So I will really happy to say hello and stuff, but obviously I won't be able to chat for very long. Andrew Chatfield, tell me about the hydraulic jack. Where'd you get it from? I think you're referring to the quick jack, which I've used recently on the Elise, but on the Bismarck, but I bought it for the Ferrari for when I take the engine out. It's a quick jack 500 SLX. Really recommend it. It's been fantastic. I couldn't get a two-post lift, not just because of height in that garage, but because I would have had to had a post in the middle of the garage, and it just wouldn't have worked. So, uh, and do you mean that, or do you mean the real hydraulic jack that I have? I have a Sealy aluminium one. If you do a search for Sealy aluminium jack, if that's the one you mean, then that's what's on there. Would you ever consider wearing a normal crew neck jumper? No, I hate them. I really like polo necks, always have done. Mark Walton, have you ever owned a new car? Well, for a while, my dad worked for Fiat in Italy when I first had my license. So through his job, he got three company cars, one for my mum and one for me. Although he had to pay for the one for my mum and me, but he got a new car every 6 months. So for 3 years, I had some Fiat Unos, and I had a couple of Puntos as well, including a GT at one point. Um, and so yes, so I had new cars in those days every 6 months, but I don't miss that. I'd like to see an Aston Martin Rapide, yeah, from Philip. Do you fancy working on a Triumph TR7? Not looking for cars to work on at the moment. Luke Warmwater, by the way, I contacted you on Instagram. My Cougar V6 X Pack review, play with it. I don't know if you're going to take a 67 foot. Wow, interesting. Well, Luke, sorry, I don't know if I replied to you on Instagram. Take that reply. If not, contact me again if I missed it. Yeah, certainly a 67 Ford Custom sounds quite interesting. Tom, be great to see a Gen 1 Civic on there. Yeah, I'd quite like to try one. Full gas, no traction, hijack from Germany via Northern Ireland. Hello. I'd love to see a TR6 on your channel. If I get a chance, we'll do. Favorite Triumph, I think I've answered that. Do you fancy doing a body lift on a TVR for Tuscan? Not really, Ross, but thank you. Master Malrubius, thank you again for the shillings. And hi, Jack, have you considered a Z3M coupe, a Z3M coupe bread van? Yes, I have, and I'd quite like that actually. I'd quite like one of those. Do you want my cracking 360 manual? I'm a man F says about the 360 manual. I am already planning on doing a video comparing a 360 manual to a 360 with the F1 gearbox, but I'm just trying to put that together. So I'm probably okay for 360s, but thank you for the offer. And TVR, if views and clicks didn't matter, what project car would you pick for tinkering on? If views and clicks didn't matter, what project car would you pick for tinkering on? To be honest, I've done the things I want to do. I mean, the BX I thought would be no one would care about at all, and it wasn't a massive success in terms of numbers, but it wasn't bad. Certainly better than the Bismarck. So I kind of do the cars I want to tinker on, I think. Yeah, I really want a Fulvio, as I've mentioned, and there's probably other cars as well. Andrew, thank you. Chatfield for the donation. Laser Capri Hijack, a few years ago, you scared us about your classic car prices hit their limit. What is going on in the world? Do you think classic car prices will come down? Well, I'm the last person you should ask because, as you point out, I did a video saying that classic car prices would crash. And ever since, I think they've skyrocketed even further up. But the thing is that, I mean, there was a point to that video which I think made sense, and that was that basically there's classic cars keep on coming out, and there's only a finite audience for those classic cars, but every year there's something else which is considered a classic. So the supply is going to overwhelm demand unless China, for example, starts opening itself to them, which at the moment it isn't. It's not easy to import a classic car into China. If it does, that will change, but at the moment I think they are hideously overvalued, and that's basically a result of COVID and governments printing money. I think that will stop. And there's a natural cycle, which James Martin did in his videos, which is that the 30-year cycle, I think he called it, which is that every generation has their favorite classic. So, for example, now the pre-war stuff is worth, a fraction of other things. And Fords like the Sierras and stuff that, lots of people wanted when they were kids but couldn't afford has shot up. In a few years' time, I think those won't be worth as much as well because we'll all have we'll all have moved on, so to say. DWN says 1,500. What were you? I'm going to have to skip through a few of these. Sorry, but it's just we're running out of time. I think Ian Barford, hello. Ross Harper, hello. What car? Darren Cousins, good evening. I've given you the information on the Jack. Any interest in American muscle cars? Yes, I have said definitely interested. Haven't had much chance to cover them, but do like them. Love the channel. How understanding is your wife? Don't have a wife. Had a my partner. I mean, it's a bit really long-winded, but at the moment, I'm not seeing anyone, and that's also why I'm able to do this. I think if I had a wife and children, I couldn't have done this, which is a big positive of not having a wife and kids. Having said that, I do miss elements of family life that I had before, but I might get those again, going forward. Paul says, great Q&A. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Did you find out who crashed into your Peugeot? I never did, I'm afraid. Frank Cassidy, another funny question. Matthew Stansel, why do you have to do an engine out for the Ferrari? Belt service. Actually, I'll have to ask Frank's question here is, would you consider going on OnlyFans? Right, Matthew Stansel, why do you have to do an engine out for the Ferrari? Belt service. Did the laser welding work? No, it's not an engine. It's not a belt service. No, you can do a belt service on a 308 where it is. No, there's something much more fundamental going on with that engine. Either the rebuilt heads that are in it have an issue, or there's oil coming up through past the rings. So, either way, it's going to be quite a lot of work. And the laser welding didn't work, which is why I put a rebuilt second-hand head on there and got rid of the old one. BHR Motorsport likes the current mix of videos. Great. Peter, don't change too much, I think has found its place. Maybe emphasize that you can have a nice quirky collection of cars if you're willing to break your comfort zone. Thank you, Pieter. Appreciate that. Aston Martin says, love your channel. Thank you. And hello to Thailand. Luke's Garage, hello. I'm sure we've spoken a few times. I live in Finland, found an old farm. There was cars abandoned, at least 5 2CVs. Wow. 916 or Fireblade Tiger? Sorry, it has to be the 916. I really like the Fireblade Tiger, but for me, I had a 748, which is basically a 916 with a Revia less pokey engine, and that was great. Carl, thanks for the donation. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Ciao from Switzerland. Hello, Swiss car guy, Luke's Garage. Little one of the 2CVs, so sat inside, cool. 348, first Ferrari for Paul. Yeah, 348s are great. Rowan, RX8. I think I've done a review on an RX. I really like RX8s, by the way, really do. Luke's Garage, some tinkering, great. Paul. Let's see, does driver since. Patrick, would you recommend giving up my job and starting a channel? It looks like hard work. Patrick Holster, I can tell you that I've never worked as hard as I have now. I've been working pretty much almost 24/7. It's been complicated because I've moved house recently, so that took quite a while as well. But it really, I think I don't intend this to continue indefinitely, because I think that as I get better at what I'm doing and I get a better mix of stuff, of not just working on cars, but doing reviews and building a bit of a buffer, I'm not going to be working 7 days a week. But up till now, I almost have done, up until this week when I've had to stop a bit because of COVID. So would I recommend you starting? If you think you can do it, and I think it's hard. It's really hard to start from nothing on YouTube. And, if you're passionate enough and you enjoy what you're doing, I would say definitely go for it. But I wouldn't go in thinking I can stop doing my job. I was very lucky with the influenza that it propelled me. It sort of gave me a big kick that allowed me to keep growing. So it's tough, but it's doable. And if you're passionate enough, I'd say do it anyway and see how it goes. Do it as a hobby initially. John Rayner, Caterham 7, love that. I think I did a video on one and then the sound was so distorted that I couldn't use it. But I prefer an Elise to a 7. They are different, but the mid-engine nature of an Elise just I mean, the 7 isn't a slouch in the way it turns, but the Elise for me has a magic feeling. I'm going to bore you all with that again. Given your alpha DNA, time for a flat 4 alpha sud or a 33. I would love an alpha sud. That's Mike Bruce Bunce. But they're really hard to find. I think I saw one recently on Piston Heads, and they 20 grand. 20 grand for an alpha sud. I mean, I love a sud, but I'll get a really nice Fulvia for that money any day. DWN says you live very near to Harry Metcalf. Do you ever pass each other on test runs? I have passed him once, and on what everyone calls Harry's Road, I live incredibly close to. I think even closer than Harry, which is why it features in all my videos. Do you ever plan to buy an electric car? Well, as mentioned, it's a guilty pleasure. Is the BMW i3. I don't know. I like them. It's an odd one, but I do like them. Clinchy, hello, buddy. This is another one of my old mates from the day when we had the Porsche 964s. Thank you for watching, fella, and for your ongoing support. Really good guy. He's got a 993. And one of my original one of the videos I did a long time ago, that was one of the first that did really well, was a comparison between a 993 and his 996, both his cars, actually. It was a 996 C4S. That was one of the first that sort of went above 50,000. So thanks, fella. Do you ever do Italian hand when you're pissed off? Not sure what you mean, Mark. Oh, the hand gestures. Yes, I do, definitely. That Italian bit of me does come out. BMW pre-mid 2000s. I had an E46 M3, and I did rather like that, Ian. Andy UK 911. He's not American. Is that me? Metaphora. What advice would you give to someone wanting to start a YouTube or car channel? I think I've spoken about that already. Just try it if if you enjoy it, but I wouldn't do it as a way of trying to make a living. I'd do it as a way of having some fun and seeing how it goes. Paul Cobra says, do you enjoy Stance Works? I haven't watched much. I know the 308 sounds interesting, but I haven't watched a lot of that. One guy who I do really like is the Australian chap, Jeff, Home Built by Jeff. Really great guy when it comes to this stuff. He's doing incredible things with an Alfa, the Ferrari, which he's putting a 360 engine in. I think it's a 105 series, so like the first car I ever bought. And I really like that, and he's a really good guy. And in terms of if you like that working on cars video, he's brilliant at it. He's brilliant at filming it, and he does real sort of step-by-step stuff, whereas I tend to try and do less in detail, because I think the way I do it, people just get bored. The car wizard is taking longer to fix 308 than you. That's good to hear. That's sentient. Hello from Atlanta, from Matthew Stansel. Hi, Matthew. Derek, hello. Ian Tyrrell's stuff is great. Absolutely is. He's brilliant. Ken from SW from Southwest France. Thank you, buddy. EZE, are your PJs better than JM's shirts? For me, without a doubt. And Carl Harvey, just don't understand SUVs for UK roads yet. Cy Spear, hello. Our Welsh is Cy Spear. Cars revved up high. Ever driven a Mark 1 Clio 1.8 16 valve or Renault 19 16 valve? No, I haven't. That's one on the list that I do want to do. If you ever make it near Detroit with several cars, yeah, I'd love that. I'll bear it in mind, fella. I'd love to go to Detroit. Love your videos from OS. Thank you. Learned to drive stick. Did you ever find out who hit? No, I didn't. Who hit the GTI? What other shows did you watch as a youth other than Magnum and Love the Car, i.e. Miami Vice, Knight Rider? I used to watch Knight Rider. I used to watch the A-Team. Magnum, I didn't watch that much, actually. I don't know why. But yeah, definitely Knight Rider and the A-Team. And I don't know if there's anything else. My brain is sozzled. Phil, hi from France. Hello, Phil. Philip, hi, Switzerland. Yeah. Hello. Hi, Jaco Italian. Looking to treat myself. California or a Porsche 911 convertible. What would you do? From Jason. Can't advise you on that. They're a bit too modern for me, 2010, 2011 cars. I'd say just drive them both, the California and the Porsche 911, see what you like. Uh, the questions have flicked through again. Sorry, I'm just trying to find where the questions were again. I'm going to do a bit longer, but I'll have to go at some point because I'm starting to feel a bit tired. Uh, right, I think I'm back to the right place. So, Alpha 155 on the channel. I'd love to try one. Did drive one in the past. They're all right. The later ones, especially. What's happening with Fred? I've mentioned that he's in a garage. He is probably going to be sold, but I'm not sure. Uh, Ross Churchhouse says, when you're working on the cars and not filming what's on the stereo, absolutely shitloads of stuff. Going back to old Pink Floyd, Lou Reed, 70s stuff, but current stuff as well. I listen to loads and diverse things, but for years and years, it was mainly sort of 70s blues, sort of stuff like that, really. Are you going to the classic car restoration show at the NEC? No, don't do shows that much. I just don't have time nowadays. Hi from Norway. Hello. Fiat Uno Turbo would be nice. I'm supposed to be doing a review on the first model, Uno Turbo, next weekend. Everything going well. I've been speaking to someone about that for a while. Gentleman driver, hi buddy. Christopher Smith, similar taste in cars, brilliant. Thank you, Carl. Again, thank you for the donation. Andrew, thank you for the donation. Tem Carman, hi Jack. Hello. Really, could you get into rescuing cars from the grave without using any new parts? I would love to do that, actually. Rescuing cars without using any new parts. As I mentioned, I've got enough projects on the go at the moment, but I will try and think about that. Ren19D, hi from Norway, love the channel. What is your ultimate car nightmare that you wouldn't touch with a barge pole? Well, many people would probably say it's the Influenzo. I did buy that car thinking it might need a bit of work, but it's gone way beyond that. But what car wouldn't you touch with a barge pole? Well, there's one of my mates actually has been sending me regularly 1980s and 70s Maseratis and trying to get me to buy one of those, like an old style Quattroporte or one of those things, or a Biturbo. And I have a hankering for one of those, and I know they would be disastrous, but as I mentioned, at the moment, can't do much. Also, someone says review the Rattarossa. I have reviewed it. There is a video of that if you want to go and have a look at that. The engine was amazing. Have you ever driven a smart roadster? No. And I know you're saying it's basically a poor man's Elise. I'm sure it's good fun, and I'd love to try one. I've never driven a car which is as good to drive as the Elise. Zagato or non-Zagato styling? I prefer the non-Zagato. I think you're referring to the Fulvia. I think it's a prettier car, but I'd love a Zagato as well. Boss 302 Mustang from Rich West. Yeah, that would be cool. Detail 78. A lot of you want to know this. How much have you invested in the 308 at this point? Do you think you could turn it eventually into a break even? I stopped a while ago working out how much I spent on the Influenza because it's pretty horrific. There is one video which tots it up. I think that considering I've done 90% of the work myself, I'm still hoping to break even. But I think last time I calculated it, I think I'd put about 15,000 in that car, and that was with me doing all the work. So it's been a big thing. I mean, partly also my fault when I dropped it on the jack. That was, ended up being a couple of grand. I think that cost me, but he did a little bit of other paintwork as well. Martin Crosby says Fiat X19 or TR7. I don't know because I don't know TR7s that well, to be honest, or an X19. I've never driven one of those. Chef G Romano says fundamentals are gone. Not sure if he's referring to the fact that maybe I'm not working on the Influenza all the time, but as I said, I have to diversify. That's not sustainable. Azam says, "Have you seen the tomato lately?" No, JM has it and I think has sent it off for some work. I want a Lotus Elise S1, but they're way overpriced. Not compared to some other cars, I think, but yes, it's a shame they are expensive now. Still not finished. Cheapest Porsche two-seater. Yeah, buying a cheap Porsche two-seater would be fun, but I think I'm probably, as I mentioned, got enough project cars as it is. A Spree V8. Yeah, I would love to do a video on a Spree V8. Chris, again, contact me on Instagram. And Clinchy with Maria would love to have me. Great. What Aprilia did you have? Love the RSV Mille. I had the first RSV Mille, the normal version, and I also had the one straight after with the Öhlins suspension and the OZ wheels, the RSV Mille R, and that was the best motorbike I ever had. It was amazing, too good for me. And I think that's the bike that made me decide to stop riding because I was getting away with it too much without having any major crashes. I did have crashes, and the speeds you can get up to on those bikes on the road in just like a snap of the fingers, it's just a bit scary, and that's part of the reason why I stopped riding bikes. CG, keep up the good work, thank you. WRC cars, yes, I'm planning on doing more WRC cars. Neil Anderson wants some branded pajama bottoms. He's contacted me privately. I know Neil anyway about the branded pajama bottoms. I'll consider that, but for the moment, I'm all right. Adam wants me to put a Rover V8 in the Ferrari, I assume. Patrick Carazzo, hello, buddy. Thank you. Modified Sprite is the one that you liked. Lots of people like the Modified Sprite video. I think it's it's definitely one of the most successful of all time. I think it's up to 310,000. It was amazing. Love that car. That Sprite just love the build. Matt Davies, secondhand cars are damn cheap. Hello, Mark. Pritam, don't know if I mentioned it. He's tested positive. Hope you're all right, buddy. And you came to the channel for the 308, like many. T-Tom, hello. Don't follow many channels but yours. Thank you, buddy. That's Tutem Carman. Thank you. Rare, hello, buddy. This is another one who's been following me for a long, long time. And thank you for joining today. Have you made the change from suits and ties? Philip Britton. So that's basically means, are you happy you've gone full time on YouTube? I am for the moment. It's hard work, much harder than a normal job, but I am happy about it. Hi, James. Evening, Jack. Matt Davies. Is it time to take the list on a track? I will take the leads on a track, but I did used to do track days before, and it's become so expensive. I'm not going to do much in terms of track days, to be honest. Hi, the Cav. Carl, Porsche Boxster. Yeah, very good cars, actually, and still pretty cheap. Lot 76. Hey, buddy. Some Alpha Suds on Scout in Italy. Yeah, I know, but again, importing one is just going to be a costly exercise. Dallas 68, hello. Robert, hello, thank you, Robert Keeble. You too. Hendon Guna, yeah, Sprint Green Cloverleaf would be lovely. Ward V says, would you consider filming road trips similar to Harry's Garage? Now, I think I've found that road trips or car meets, so filming those, it does just really badly on YouTube. So I'd have to do it just because I really wanted to do it. And I'm not excluding doing like road trip videos, but again, it's not, I don't think it's something that I'm going to be doing a lot of. Harry Metcalf, Harry's Garage, he gets away with that. And I think he's just a very engaging personality. I'm not sure I could do enough really to make it an ongoing sustainable thing. But health matters. Thank you, Mr. J Videos, and hope you're okay too. Kentish says hi from Mauritius. Great to hear from you. BMW on the channel in the future. No plans for the moment, but I will do at some point. Hello, Paul Gaultieri. Paul Cobras, home built by Jeff. Yes, lots of you like home built as well. He's great. When will you do an electric conversion from Chet? No plans at the moment. McKenna, do you think prices of older cars will continue to rise? As I've mentioned before, I'm the last person who should be saying that. I did a video a few years ago about how they were going to tank, and prices have never never stopped increasing since then. And I've lost my place again, but I will. I think I'm almost back where it is. Here we go. Negachin Fairly Odd Parents. Hello. Dukes of Hazard. Yeah, cool. Yes, did used to watch Dukes of Hazard. Andrew wants my Elise. You'll be lucky. I'm not selling that. RC that action. Watching for a future. Yeah, thank you, buddy. What do you think of today's car scene compared to the Max Power days? I don't know. But I presume with a name like RC that action, you're another RC car fanatic. Love that. And Miami Vice, no, didn't watch that. Paulie Galtieri, particularly. Hello to Finland from MS940. Product line. Let's see if I can find. Worst car you've ever driven from Mini Moto Madness? The Renault. Oh God, what is it called? It's the little Renault with the rear engine, which is also shares the platform with the Smart. I've forgotten what it's called now. Really cute looking little thing. I thought it was going to be like a real Fiat 500 Challenger. Absolutely horrible, horrible, horrible thing to drive. It's just got the traction control cuts in if you're literally just turning the corner. You can't accelerate out. It's so intrusive. The steering is absolutely dead. I was so disappointed with that car. I absolutely hated it. And I did a video comparing it to an old Mini from when I was in Italy visiting my uncle. And so there's a video on about that. And I just hated that car so much. It was such a pile of junk. What do you think of a Vauxhall 220 Turbo from Niall or Neil? Yeah, they're great. Great. Basically just a Turbo Elise. Have I driven a Renault Fuego Turbo from Black Nines? No, I haven't. DMW, how are finances holding up without working? They're holding up, but you know, I'm not quite as comfortable as I was before. But the whole point is, you know, hopefully I'll carry on growing and I'll become a bit more comfortable. But I'm fine. You know, I'm dreading slightly the Influenzo. If it turns out it needs some real engine bits, things like pistons, that's going to be really painful. But you know, but I'm okay. KFKW sitting with his 10-year-old boy. Hello to with Finley is your boy. Hello, Finley. Is the Ferrari long term? The Ferrari is long term, but there's a lot of money invested in it, and I think when it's finished, we'll have to see what happens. It's just there's so much money in there that I just don't know if I'm that comfortable leaving it in a car for that long. Richard wants to know what I had for tea. I haven't had it yet, but I'm going to have a pizza. Have you ever driven an E30 M3? I haven't really want to. It's on my list. Are you a Muddy Waters fan? Yes, I am. Have you ever driven a Renault Spider? No, I haven't. Sorry. More questions about Lexus and Merc I answered earlier. Do you watch any of the US channels? Again, I answered earlier. I think Hoovy is one of the main ones that I do watch in the US. There are some others, but I can't remember what they are. Ford Sierra 4x4 Cosworth. I think I did drive one. It was when I was really young, though, a long time ago. I can't remember much about it. Would you like a free 2000 Audi A4 Avant B5, 236k on the clock? John Norris metal sculpture. Yeah, of course I'd like a free car. I don't know if you're offering. If you are, contact me on Instagram and maybe I could do something and then it could be, I could own it for a little bit and then just give it away. If it was given to me, I wouldn't want to just profit off it, but it could make interesting YouTube content. Mr. Mister wants to know, will you go electric on the Ferrari? I won't, for one simple reason, because it would cost, I think it's about 100k really when all is said and done. And No, it's just ridiculous. And I'm not against it on 308s because I don't think the engines are the best Ferrari has ever made. They're all right, they have something, but you can go electric. I'm not against that. But no, I'm not doing it to mine. And what's your thoughts about electric cars versus petrol? I think there's absolutely a place for electric cars. They have loads of advantages over petrol cars. Not least the amount of moving parts that are in there are much reduced. I think I think it's a mistake maybe to just push all the way to go completely electric because it's always good to have a mixture of things. But yeah, I'm absolutely not one of these sort of electric car haters. I think there's a place for them, and I think some conversions, like I can think of a Citroen DS, is that would benefit massively from an electric conversion. So, Alistair, hello to Cornwall, buddy. Fred Valet, what about follow-up video on the cars such as the Tomato? If I get the chance, I will. When are you buying a 75 V6? Drove one, really liked it. No plans to buy one at the moment, though, Babbo. Have you ever driven a 620 Ti Funky? No, I haven't. Swap the Elise for a Porsche Boxster? Absolutely no way. Boxster is a brilliant car, Fred, but there is absolutely no way I would swap it. I would swap the Elise for a Boxster. You know, it's more usable. Doesn't drive anything like an Elise. You know, it drives like a very good mid-engined car, but it's not like an Elise. What was so? Which car have you has zoomed in value and are 33 years old? I'm not sure I understand your point there, Matt. An aspirational car from 31 years ago, so 1991, probably be like a, I don't know, an NSX, something like that. I'd love. I love Mazda RX-7s. Terry, love that. Hydrogen cell in the 308, Chris. Yeah, that would be fun. Crafting Matt. Never would swap a Boxster. No, I agree. Jordan, thank you very much for the tip for the beer. Appreciate that. The 914 was very, very good, which someone's just asked how good was that 914? Very good. 996 GT2 review, Clinchy says, I would love to do that. Find me a 996 GT2 to review. They're animals, apparently. I love it. 996 GT3, love. Joe Blogs asks, if you could own a Fiat, what would you pick up and why? Well, Fiat 500, the original one, is one of my favorite all-time cars. I absolutely love that. So owning one of those again, I think is on the list. My friend Anton, who is a mechanic, he specializes in 500s, is building an Abarth at the moment, and I will be driving it as soon as he is done. Zahid says, at the start, inspired to keep working with my Boxster. Yeah, good. Keep going, Zahid. I think I'm glad I inspired you. And yeah, it's great to work on cars, especially when it works out. What are your thoughts on the fuel hike? Well, you know, that's just a geopolitical thing, really. But I can't. There's not much I can say about that. Daily to Classics, thank you very much. Gregory's in Canada. Hello. And an SM. Wow, that's one car I would love to have, Gregory. Citroen SM, Maserati engine Citroen. What a cool car. Would absolutely love that. Next car you say is going to tank is going to be my investment. Yeah, good point, Mr. Maru. Also, because quite funnily, I think the 308 is one of the only cars that's hardly gone up in value since I've had it. So I'm obviously bad for cars. Project Car Addict. Paul, hello, buddy. How many hours do you spend on cars in total each week? As I mentioned, don't have a day job anymore. Stop that in August. And how many hours do you spend on cars each week? It's been ridiculous since I've gone full time and moved houses and everything else. I want to change it, and I would say, you know, it's been 12 hours most days, but hopefully that will change. Ian Barford is asking me, if you were to cop off with a drop dead gorgeous woman and she gave you an ultimatum, it's me or the cars, what would you do? It'd be the cars, really. I can find another woman. I have done in the past. And any woman that gave me that kind of ultimatum anyway it wouldn't be a possible working relationship. So DKK, thank you very much for that hugely generous tip. That's really kind. Hopefully I'll get to your message in a minute. Herb, hello to Los Angeles. Paul, I bumped into Harry Metcalf. Yes, apparently he's a really nice guy. And the rear engine thing from Renault is the third generation Twingo. Rudiger, you're exactly right. It's one of my most absolutely hated cars. Jago says I have 66,600, so 66.6 subscribers, which is evil. Maybe that's why I've got COVID these last few days. Crazy Horse asks, let's get down to the serious questions. PJ Bottoms, Marks and Spencers, or John Lewis? Neither. I think mine are White Company or something. I can't remember what they are. Alfonso says, which Fulvia model will you get? I think it's the second generation is the best compromise. The first generation still has crappy brakes, although it has all the nice bits on it. Second generation is a nice in between. The S3 is a bit too much Fiat, but I'd love any of them, to be quite honest. Dr. Bongno, what's for dinner tonight? Pizza. Blake 7, Mini Motor Magnus, I didn't watch as a kid. John Norris, I will Instagram you. Great. Okay. Instagram me. Olaf. Oh, it's split again. And Jack came back thank you for that donation again. And it says, how about a video on a nice little Fiesta 1.3 Mark 1? Laugh. I actually probably would do that. I'd be interested because I haven't driven one of those in a long time. Oatsef 1946 says, Jack, I can't believe you didn't like the 1750 GTV. I had two of them and loved them. Well, as I said, I think that I drove one afterwards that was really nicely fettled with alcoholic suspension and loads of other bits, and I thought it was amazing. I think I did the video was that against the 308, and I preferred it to the 308. So I don't think the problem was the 1750. I think the problem was the one I had, which just wasn't a good car at the time. And it's now gone to someone I've become friends with. Any plans on taking us on a trip to Italy? As I mentioned, don't do road trips particularly, but yes, I might do one to Italy though. Dave J, great. Chris Webster, do you need to review some of the T cars from TVR? Yes, I'd love to. Do you still think the home mechanic will have a chance in the EV age? Absolutely, I do actually. And I think EV cars, they're putting some barriers up, but lots of people seem to be able to tear into Teslas and do stuff. And although Tesla don't like it, and maybe they stop offering you support, I think home mechanics still has a chance. It's not really the same as before, but yeah, there will always be home mechanics, guys. Gareth says, could you get an MG Turbo Maestro against an Escort Turbo versus Daihatsu Charade GTTR? Yeah, I mean, there are lots of things I would love to do, but being a one-man band and relying generally on people to try and bring me cars, or occasionally going to do videos on them, basically it's hard to get something like that together, really, in terms of logistics. Chet's channel, which is the best release for the least money? You know that? I don't know, because I don't know what the values are of the later releases. I presume one of the later ones is probably the best value for money. Certainly S1s aren't the best value. This live stream needs more pajamas from David Simmons. I'll show you again. I am wearing PJs, so. Long-term addiction to Auto Trader, yeah, I just keep away from it. It's just... yeah, I mean, that's how you end up buying more stuff than you should have. Junaid says, do you think there can be an electric kit that will convert classic cars into electric cars? Absolutely, and people are already talking about this, and I think that it's not that far off of having some sort of standardized off-the-shelf stuff that you can use. And I think we're really quite close. I think batteries are the main issue because they're so hard to get hold of. But I think, for example, there are... the American guys will know this, but I'm pretty sure that there is a crate electric option that replaces some of the American V8s. that literally just slots straight in. Supercharged MR2 to Eric. Don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to try that. Dorian says, I have Honda Accord 2.4 2005 with VTEC engine. Does not seem to be a classic yet. It's a rare car. I love the VTECs. I love Hondas. 2005 is a bit modern for me. They were great cars. And if I had to buy a saloon, that would be on my list. Series of Abarth on the whole. The 131 was my favorite. So it's Benjamin. Yeah, I'd love to do some more Abarths, and I will do a few. Have you ever bought an American car, Jack? Is Miami Mo? No, I haven't. And that's not because I don't want to. I quite fancy an old Corvette, for example, not Stingray. They're too much money. And some of the C7s or whatever, and some of the others. And I would like that. I would get one of the big 60s sort of barges and stuff. The problem with those is that they, here in the UK, they're too big and they use up so much petrol that, it's just tricky. What else have we got? I'm going to wrap up soon, I think. Been on for a while and I am feeling a bit tired from talking so much, having had the COVID. Rich West said you should contact Nick Mason because you're a Floyd fan and see if he'll let you drive his 250 GTO. The chances of Nick Mason replying to an email from a YouTuber, an unknown YouTuber with 60,000 subscribers, let alone letting me drive his 250 GTO, is pretty remote, but I'll keep it in mind. Neil says you should do more Q&A sessions. I will. I'll try and make it a bit more regular. And sorry, yeah, he offered me an Inva car at one point, which I think I was going to do a review on or do a video on, but it never happened. Johnny Smith, petrol prices. Johnny Smith has just bought a Jeep Cherokee XJ 4.0. Wow. Yeah, those are thirsty, but quite a cool car, I guess. Yeah, I do quite like a Jeep Cherokee, even though it is an SUV. How did you learn your car maintenance skills? From Ross? Well, as I mentioned, a big part of my formation was with the radio-controlled cars back in the back when I was in my teens. Because you do learn an awful lot about how things work. Like they had differentials, they had hydraulic suspension. You could change the holes in the piston, the thickness of the oil. You could change the geometry of the suspension. So I learned loads from that. And then otherwise, as you've seen in the Influenzo, I just tend to try and often just end up breaking things, and you just learn the hard way. The difficulty is that having the YouTube channel means I often work on different cars. So you're constantly learning, which is great. It does mean, though, that everything is more difficult. Matt says, interested in a kit car build. Haven't thought about that, to be honest, at the moment. Crafting Matt says, are you into watches? Not particularly. I do love the Dunhill that I have, but not been hugely into that. And UK Mud says, which part of the country are you in? The Cotswolds. Stephen says, I notice you don't review American cars. Why? Pretty much because I haven't been offered them, or I haven't had the chance. Because I am really interested in doing them. There's just less of them here in the UK. Jordan asks me, out of my motorbikes, which was your favourite? I had the RSV-R, so that's the first Aprilia RSV, but then the R that came after, so it's the bigger RSV, with the Olin suspension was incredible. But I had a little Kawasaki sort of cross between a commuter and a trail bike, which was a 125 two-stroke. I can't remember what it was, a KMX or something like that. And that was just so much fun. And again, it's one of those super cheap thing, and it was just incredible. And it got me into green laning. So after that, I started doing loads of green laning. Green laning is so much fun on bikes, guys. You should do that. British Leyland, thank you for your offer. If I'm in East Anglia, I will let you know. Tulem Carman offers an E-Type for a day. I've already reviewed an E-Type, and that was Mike. My memory. There's a guy I know, whose surname I've just forgotten. and he's an ex F1 Formula One driver, and I drove his E-Type. There's a video on the channel, and I also managed to. It was so embarrassing. I couldn't drive the gearbox. I couldn't drive it without crunching. I passed it back to him afterwards. Um, Porsche 928, best looking. Early cars or the later cars? I prefer the early cars on the 928. It's the purer look, but they all look great. Fiat Coupe 20 valve. Yes, John, I would like. That's one of the cars I would like to own. Very weird looking car. I don't think they're pretty, but 5-cylinder engine, quite an interesting thing, really. So yeah. Watched JR Go as mentioned by Chasing Supercars. Yeah, he's all right. Watched a couple of things, but I haven't seen much recently. Art Hotel Riposo. Hello. What car of all the ones you had do you miss the most? I was really sad when you sold the Esprit. I was sad too when I sold the Esprit, and that is one of the cars I wish I could have kept. Really did love the Esprit. So yes, you've answered the question yourself. That is one of the ones that I wish I could have kept. And I raced RC cars all the time. Fat 51. That was the whole point of it. It was I was racing 1 to 10th buggies, and that's where I learned a lot about mechanical stuff. Hi, Heike. And are you going to review any German cars anytime soon? I don't know at the moment, but I'll talk to you about that later on. Fixed drive fly. I have an Aprilia RSV that I'm slowly fitting into a Reliant Regal. Wow, that sounds like quite a thing. And then time to stop, you're knackered, says Matt Davies, and I think you're right. Actually, I am absolutely knackered. So I think I'm gonna go and check hound. Greetings from Prague. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you so much. That's really really kind. Much appreciated it. What's your question? Peugeots of the late 70s, early 80s don't seem to get much love. Are there no 504s left on the UK roads? I haven't been offered any, and I would love to do like a 504. So I definitely want to do that. UK Mud says, would you review a Mark IV XR3i? I'd review it. Don't know if I'd like it. I think from what I heard, they weren't that amazing, but I might be wrong on that. And guys, yeah, I'm gonna go now because I am really quite tired actually. So really good chatting to all of you. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll do another one of these at some point when I'm fully rested. But thank you so much, and see you all very soon. Thank you, DWN.